Hello and welcome to this webinar on integrating the library into your Canvas course. My name is Svoboda. I'm the Instruction and Outreach Librarian here at Flint, and I'll be leading this session. Please hold, I'll stop to look for questions every once in a while, but we'll have time for those at the end, so just that will be probably when I address most of them. Alright, so on today's agenda, we're going to talk about the different tools that you can add to your course navigation in Canvas. Some of these are like geared towards library tools or like getting a hold of the librarian, that kind of thing. We're going to talk about adding modules from Canvas Commons that the library has created. We're going to talk about adding video tutorials that the library has created to your class as well. Then we're going to go into talking about actually how to get stable links to library content, both at textual as well as streaming media, into your Canvas course as well. And then we'll finally leave you with places to get help and additional resources to look for. Alright, so when we switched over to Canvas a few years back, the library, we asked ODE to help us create a couple of Canvas navigation tools. And so these are basically, they'll show up in your students' Canvas course along with like the different modules you have, as well as like things like graded reading, any other kind of like perusal or other types of apps that are there. Currently we have Ask a Librarian, which basically embeds the Ask Us page in there. We have a course reserve search, and then we also have a tool that embeds a library course or a subject guide into your class automatically, and I'll talk about this in a little bit. The other thing you're able to add at this point is to add a librarian as a participant in your course. And I'm going to switch over here to Canvas, and I'll show you exactly what that looks like. So I'm in Canvas and I'm in one of my classes now. Alright, so the navigation pane is this list of different modules, and again quizzes, the name, coach, Zoom, panorama, all of that stuff on the left side of your screen here. Okay, if you want to add anything to this, hopefully you know that you go down to settings and then over to your navigation page here. And in this long list of things, anything that's in this top level up here, these are things that you can see and that you can have. Now again, if you don't want to have like the new analytics, for example, you can pull those down here. There's a couple of other things you can kind of move around. And in addition to this, there are a few things in the list here that will show up, and again they may not be necessarily in this order. It kind of depends on where it is. Sometimes they may be way far down here with some of the other kind of non-UM Flint and kind of outside vendor options here, but the ones you're going to be looking for are going to be Ask a Librarian, library resources, and then also library course reserves, and I'll show you what these look like once I get them into navigation. Okay, so they're here, and then I scroll down to the bottom and click Save, and then you'll notice that they kind of get pulled up here onto this course and they'll be listed as however I want to, or however they're listed, and you can move them around if necessary. Okay, so if I go to my home screen here, again, I just have my module set as my home screen, and I go to the Ask a Librarian option here in the navigation. What comes up is it is just a page to our Ask a Librarian page. So if you are going to have students with it's a heavy research class or something else, and you're wanting them to direct them to the libraries and the librarians, this might be something that you want to add here. Okay. The course reserve thing should just take you to basically link out to a search in course reserve, right? So this links out to something where we can put in nursing 330, I believe, has some stuff on reserve, right? And so you could easily find it here. Okay. Alright, so my actual favorite of all of these different tools, though, is the library resources navigation thing, because what we've done is on the back end of both Canvas and the library's websites, we have kind of linked out and made it an API basically that will grab a specific library page from our website and kind of embed it in here. Now, since I'm doing this lovely webinar, I have made it so that the integrating the library into Canvas courses is the one that pops up here, right? However, depending on if you have a course guide with us, or if we have a subject guide that is related to your department, or the program that you're in, it will pull that in, or it will kind of default to the library's homepage. So it kind of depends a little bit on what it does. But say, for example, you're a computer science professor, it's going to pull in the computer science guide here. If you're a nursing professor, you're going to pull in this. And if you have a course guide, if we've made a course guide specifically for your classes, so for example, I've made one for English 111, there's got a bunch of different tutorials and help on here. Any English 111 class, they will pull in this specific page, okay? So again, depending on what you've done with a librarian, it will pull in different things. And if there is no match based on your course code to either a course guide like this or to a subject guide like nursing, it will default back to the library homepage here. So again, depending on what you want, you can work with us and we can make sure that everything's working on the back end, but it will default out to the Thompson Library homepage here. Okay, but again, it will be embedded like this in Canvas. Everything will kind of open up and work within and link out on that page, so you can actually go in and the students don't necessarily have to do any additional searching. It kind of lives within their Canvas course a little bit. Okay. The other thing that you can do on kind of the navigation page here, it doesn't exactly fit, but basically you can add a librarian to your class to interact with the students, right? So again, this might be something if you have a very intense research question or something else like that, you can add in a person to your class. So if you go to people, you'll see that I've got one person who is pending. So this is a colleague down at Ann Arbor that I invited to, but she has not come in. And you can see that there's a couple of our librarians who are added in here as teachers. Okay. But if I wanted to add in someone else, we're just going to pick on my colleague Mickey here. You add them in by an email address, and then you go down and you can click a role, and you'll see that there's a librarian role. And basically this position has similar permissions as a TA would, right? So we can go in and we can add discussions. We're not interacting as a student, and we don't have like complete control over as like the main instructor. If you do want to add a librarian, please contact us to let us know that you're doing so, and kind of we'll discuss exactly what our responsibilities would be in this role. Most often, and again, it hasn't happened a ton, I've been coming in as like a discussion board or something else and kind of commenting on and kind of helping people through, and they can ask things within their class instead of like going out to the library page. So it's an option here, and we really do, it has worked well in the past. So once you hit next, it will, add users. They'll get an invite basically saying, hey, do you want to be in this class? And we can accept it on our end, and we'll be able to go in as well. But I'm not going to do this because Mickey's got enough on his plate. So this is where you would go and see everybody in here. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is adding library modules to your course. So over the past couple of years, we have created several modules that are based on library content that talk about how to search within the library, that talk about giving them an orientation or exploring and evaluating information sources. Avoiding plagiarism, one is probably the most popular module that we've created. And we are actually planning on launching an introduction to APA citations that will hopefully should be ready for fall 2025 here. But basically all of these are uploaded into Canvas Commons, and then you would import or download them into your course. Sometimes it will take a little bit of time, but basically everything that's in these modules will come into your course as their own specific module. And let me show you how that works. So back in Canvas here, if you go over to the far left menu and click on Commons, there's a couple of different things there's a lot of There's a lot of content in these commons, and these are all either full courses or, sometimes they're just a video, sometimes it's a module or a page that you can actually download and use. And you'll notice that down at the very bottom, there's over 500, things that or tabs that come in here. Okay, so the fastest way to get to the library content is just to do a quick search for Thompson Library. And again, these four, the first four that you see here are from us, and you should see, kind of pictures that you recognize around the library, possibly the Avoiding Plagiarism logo you've seen forever, and they should be from Thompson Library. You notice there's a fifth one over here, and not everything in Canvas Commons is created by Flint people, right? This is anybody who uses Canvas as their learning management system can upload things into Commons, right? So let's take a look here at the exploring and evaluating information sources. So you'll get a little bit of a preview here, and you'll see some information, like you'll see all the different modules, and you'll see kind of what's in here. So there's one module, there's an assignment, there's 5 pages, discussion, there's some quizzes, there's also some files that are associated with it. All of this will kind of be imported in here. You can see some details about it. So again, there's a little description about what we intended this to do, including things like learning outcomes, what's embedded in this, as well as, kind of what grade level it's at. You'll also see some version notes, right? So this was last updated in September's because there was a couple of questions that needed to get checked out. We do go through these about once a year just to make sure everything's good. And this summer we'll be checking for accessibility. So there should be an updated version note on some of these as well that you'll see. I just haven't gotten to this one quite yet. Now, if you actually kind of want to see what's on here, so there's this information for instructors, and it talks about how to incorporate it, what the learning outcomes are, exactly what is included in this video. It also talks about how to adapt this because, as you'll notice, we have published these under a Creative Commons license. So you are more than welcome to adapt these to whatever you need. The videos are a little bit hard to edit because actually you can't really edit the videos that much. But if you don't want all the readings, or you want to change the assignment, or you want to take out something and add something else, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay. So that's the page here, and you can actually kind of even like navigate through here. So one thing to note is that the videos that are created by the library don't show up in Commons because they kind of live within the Flint repository, but you will be able to see, some of the information that's here. And so if there are any like YouTube videos that are there, you can kind of see those. You can even have them play and work in here as well. But again, anything that's kind of created by the librarian lives in the library media, and the Canvas media at Flint isn't there. But again, you can kind of go through and see everything before you even import to make sure that it is what you want it to do and how the students would actually see it as well. And so you can actually see even giving the quizzes here. So it's a classic quiz, and you can see the answers of true, false, as long as, and kind of get an idea about what's going on. All right, now say I want to use this. Okay, I can go over to the far right here and click import and download, and I could throw it into a specific one that I want. So for example, we're going to go put it in the library sandbox and import the course. You could also download it as like a Canvas file or learning management file, but the import is just so nice. You can even, if there are a huge list, you can even search for a specific course up here, but you just click import to course, and it sometimes takes a little bit of time to see, but what should happen, and again, just to remind you, we have these 4 that are available. If you go back to your courses and dashboard and everything into the course that you put it in, you'll notice that I have embedded in here, oh look, exploring and evaluating information resources. I've also got the avoiding plagiarism one I popped in here. So yeah, they will show up here, and they will also go through the UJA panorama evaluation as well. So pretty simple there. Okay, so The next thing I want to talk about is adding more library created content to your class, but instead of going out and doing an entire module, we're just going to look at a video here. So we're going to go on to this page here, just so I can keep it up. And so if you've ever created any videos for your particular class, you know that they kind of reside in the My Media section, okay? So the library, we've created a lot of videos as well, but we want them to be shared with you all. So again, this is something that this is a webinar that my colleague Emily did a couple last semester. And so I've been able to add it in here. But instead of going through My Media, you can, and like using our individual one, you can actually go into a shared repository. So it works really similarly to adding things in My Media. You go up to embed my videos, and instead of kind of sticking into the My Media here, you go into the faculty shared repository. And in this gigantic long list, you will see not only things from the library, right? But you will also see other materials that have been updated and uploaded by other people at Flint, right? So in this case, you can actually search within here as well. So for example, if I wanted to look for things made by the library, just kind of go through and see everything that there's like how to search in the library catalog, how to book a study room, how to search for articles, right? And you can actually, again, show more of all of these, and it will kind of give you ideas of where it's shared with, what the timing is on things, and everything else. And again, if there's something that's specific that you're looking for, so say, for example, I'm looking for a webinar that someone did on one of our essential skills, for example. We did some webinars on talking about Zotero and other things, so maybe I want to put this in. I can go over to the embed button, click that, and then it will pop it in here just like any other video you've ever created with the My Media, right? And it plays and it will embed just like that. We do have a full list of all of the different tutorials and webinars and everything that we have on our library page, because sometimes searching for them is a little bit difficult, and I'll show you where to access that list in a little bit here. Okay, but again, if you click on it,
My name is Svoboda. I am the Instruction Outreach Librarian.
And everything should be have captions on it as well, because we're really good about that. Okay, so let's talk about actually getting library content like that's from our publishers. So that whether that is an ebook, whether that is a journal article, a newspaper, a streaming media, anything like that, you are able to embed or link out to those things through Canvas. The easiest way to do this is to use the library's quick search to find an article, ebook, film, etc. And we're going to get a permalink out that, and then we're going to add that into a description text in the rich text. Now, there's a lot of questions about accessibility, and there's a lot of issues with PDFs right now. So this is the easiest and most accessible way to get your students to the content that they need, right? You will not need to worry about making sure that your PDF is accessible, because you're not uploading a PDF, right? You're linking out to that content, and students can access it either typically as a PDF, or they can, use the databases and the tools that are embedded in there. So this might be one way to do this, okay? So when I do a search for an article, for example here, I want to use this article, The Manuscripts of Timbuktu, a survey of contents of 31 private libraries, because there's this really cool documentary I just saw. Even from the results page, you can see this permalink here and grab this permalink like this, okay? If you wanted to look at a little bit more information about the article beforehand, you'll see this page. But again, that same content and access is here, so you can grab the permalink and copy it to the clipboard below. Okay. What this does is this permalink will take you basically to a page that looks like this without the kind of going through the results. It will take you to this single individual page where students will be able to download that PDF, or if the PDF isn't right available, they can actually go down and get either the full text availability through one of the databases that's listed here. Okay. So on Canvas, we're going to go up and just make sure I've got this all kind of added here. Again, probably the best way to do this is to go in and create a rich text page here, and then add this in as a descriptive text. Now, all of us good researchers and people want to add this in as like just the DOI link down here. However, it will flag in UJA if you do that, because it is not a descriptive link, because it is, just the link as the link. So what I would do is I would actually highlight the entire citation, or the title, or however you're doing this, and add in an external link like so, copy paste in here, hit done, and then UJA is still doing just fine. The accessibility report is still 100% because it is linked that way. Okay. And then what this does is that it will open up in a new tab or window, depending on how your students have it set up, to, again, this simple record of this article where they are able to either download that PDF for themselves or to grab it from a database if the PDF isn't available. So that would normally happen with a lot of our streaming media, or like full ebooks if you're linking out to that. Okay. Actually, you could add it as an external URL here. Again, so if you add in that permalink here, they're able to download it and grab that PDF themselves. If you did want to add a PDF, there's a couple of things you should kind of think about, because the accessibility of a lot of the library's content that we subscribe to does not necessarily meet accessibility standards, and that is why a lot of PDFs are getting flagged for it, because they're uploading it from this. So this is going to be the way that you hit all those accessibility standards, at least on our end. But if you did want to do this, try to make a library journal accessible, you can either use Adobe Acrobat. So this is something that's available, and you can do an accessibility report, but you can notice that this I downloaded already, and it failed 15 out of the other checks here. So there's things like it's not a tagged PDF, there's no tagged annotations or content, there's a bunch of different like alternative figures and annotations and things that it failed. Okay, so UJA, the panorama tool that is being added up here, will kind of recognize these things as well. So even if you're going to upload a document here, you can have that PDF here. I would also even kind of, so that it is technically more fair use, if you make less copies. So if you do like a preview inline and expand by default, they will actually see the full kind of text of the article as they're looking at it, and so they could read it and scroll within it here. Okay. The one good thing about this is that UJA itself will actually add alternative formats for this, which is kind of nice. You can add it, students can add it for a PDF and this kind of thing, or get into OCR formats. There's some other things that it will do once it's up here, but it is currently not accessible right now, or they're going through the check, and so we would need to go through and really do this. So again, this is why we're suggesting you do a link out, because it is easier for us to get, it is easier to pass the accessibility check in UJA with the descriptive link. Okay. All right. So let's talk about getting now. So this is the easiest way to do it is again getting to this kind of link. It will again, if you do this, all of your links will look like this. Now, you can go directly to you can find stable links to other content in the library, right? So in like the specific databases, right? So if you're always going into CINAHL and you want them to look at CINAHL, you could do that. If you want them to look in, we'll pick on Springer, you can do that, right? If you want them to go into the database, you can do that. I will with fewer clicks because the quick search option will allow you to the quick search does give them access to that just with an extra click. Now, if you're looking for this, you're going to be looking in a few different places because it depends on the database publisher. They also are going to be labeled a few different things. They could be a permalink, it could be a stable link, it could be a DOI, it could be a document URL, right? It could also be listed in the citation information. It really depends on the company and their user interface where this information is, right? You should be looking for that permalink first. However, if that is not available, you could try copying the address in the browser bar. But all of this you're going to need to proxy to make sure that the library proxy is embedded into this so that students are able to access this whether they are on or off campus, no matter what their computer and browser settings are. Okay. You can also use a DOI, but they won't necessarily go back to the database you found the article in. Sometimes it will go like to the journal articles page, like website and that kind of thing. So just be aware that students might not always be seeing what you see when you create these links. Okay. So some examples of links here, and I've highlighted where the lib proxy string is. If the lib proxy is at the beginning of these links, it means that I've gotten them on I found these links on campus and I'm putting that at the front. If it's in the middle, it's most likely that I found them, I was working off campus and I pulled them because again, off campus, I needed to sign in and have that lib proxy there. So just so you know, like they will look really different depending on both the database that they are and whether you found the link on or off campus as well. As just an idea of how to find all of these things again. So if you're on an EBSCO database here, you'll be able to go ahead and go up to share and then create link, and this should give you a good stable link back to this page. If you actually are on the reading page of EBSCOhost, you should be able just to copy this up at the top, but you could also get a share link. But notice, since I'm on campus, there is no proxy embedded here, so I would need to go in and add that to make sure that it's there. ProQuest, similarly, you've got, for like an ebook like this, there's this share link to book. And again, they're shorter, they're stable, permanent links here, but again, there's no proxy, so I would need to add that in there. With JSTOR, there is this JSTOR URL that you can copy. Again, no proxy though, because I'm on campus. With Science Direct, again, up with here where there's site and there's share and there's other stuff, you can email it, all this sort of thing. You can also get this DOI, this stable link, so this might work. But again, if I open this up, it might not necessarily take me back to Springer. It might take me someplace else, so this one did. Alternatively, you could also grab the URL for Science Direct up here, but again, no proxy. And then for Springer here, this is Springer. Again, there's not really a good place you're not seeing anything about like sharing or accessing or anything like this. You can, download up here, but I'm not seeing anything. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you will see some information about this. So you could grab the DOI up here, or you could try to use the Springer link URL here. Okay. However, this is all like trying to figure out where this information is on each of these individual databases can sometimes be a little crazy. So this is why going into the quick search and grabbing this permalink for it will probably be the easiest. Again, especially for things like journal articles, ebooks, even most of our streaming media like this, there might be a few things that are not as easily found this way. Some of our archival databases, some of the things that are coming through, like business things like coming through Mergent or like IBIS World, may not necessarily be found this way. So depending on what resource you're using, again, find the path of least resistance basically. So in addition to all of this textual access that the library has, we do have films that are through the library. Our two main ones are going to be through Alexander Street Videos or Canopy, but there is other video content out there, especially through Sage. There's a lot of great content, especially for research methods through Sage that's available. And again, the easiest way that's going to be here is to use either the quick search permalinks that we talked about, but with Alexander Street, we actually have a tool that we added to Canvas to help you find this. So if I go back over to Canvas here really quickly, I can go to, so I could, find the link to this right away, right? Or I could use a tool through Alexander Street Video. Okay, this is an app that you can add in Canvas, and I'm going to search for this video here. And you'll have a couple of different ways to look at this. All right, so I could get a return link. So again, a rich text link that would work as well. You could embed it in two different sizes. So either as a medium or large. I'm just going to put it in as large here. And this will automatically, again, kind of embed this just like you would a YouTube video or going up and going in through My Media. You can see this here too. Okay. So this is with Alexander Street Press. I like it a lot. It's super easy. This is the way that I would suggest going about it. Okay. With Canopy, it's a little bit harder to find some things. So actually, through the library's homepage here, scroll back up, go to the homepage. We actually have under the quick links here, we have this link towards streaming video. So this will pull just videos back. Okay. And so here I can either do a search for any type of video I want. So that one that I came through with the Lost Libraries of Timbuktu comes up, and anything that is related to has Canopy will say that it has Canopy there, but there's going to be a lot of additional access through this. So for example, if I wanted to add this in, or I wanted to double check what this is, it's coming through Canopy Streaming Services, has all this description, and then again I would grab either the citation, which is great for creating that descriptive link, as well as the permalink here, and then I would go into Canvas, and similarly to how we created that article, I would go here and add in my descriptive text, and then again make this into an external link for and use that quick search link that it should be start with umish.primo at the very beginning here, to make sure that you have that link there as well. All right. Because with Canopy we've seen a lot of issues about how the embedding works on it. So these are the two ways that I would suggest adding in content from Alexander Street, from Canopy, or any other type of through Canopy or any other streaming media that we have available through the library. Outside of Alexander Street, I would highly suggest using a descriptive link to this. Okay. All right. So that has been a quick guide as to what we have through the library here, that all the different tools and things we have. On the library's website, there is this guide towards integrating the Canvas, and it has information about everything we covered in this session. There's additional tutorials that kind of break down certain aspects of things, and again, we'll update this page when new features are added. And just to give you an idea, you kind of saw it already a little bit here. But this is what it looks like. It's under the faculty resources, integrating the library into Canvas. It talks about, adding a librarian. It talks about those Canvas tools as well. It talks about the Canvas modules. It also covers how to import as well as update a Canvas module, so you don't have to re-import it. You can just update it from previous semesters, just to make sure that everything's working well. We talk about the library video tutorials. This is where you would find that full list of video tutorials and descriptions. I do need to update this a little bit, but again, it's a published list that we have going on that talks about whether it's on YouTube or it's in the Canvas shared repository. It will be accessible here. And then we have instructions on finding persistent links and stable links and proxied links, everything, and how to do that on both the library text as well as the library media page. And again, going with Alexander Street Press or Alexander Street, we would suggest using the embedded tool in Canopy. But there's also the option to grab in a couple of other ways, and we kind of run through that as well. And then at the very bottom, there are a couple of databases that have video content outside of our two main ones that might be of interest to you as well, especially like Digital Theater Plus and Sage Research Methods Online. The other resource I'm going to let you know, or tell you about here, is our library services for faculty. And this talks about not just course materials through the library and integrating into Canvas, but other things about copyright and scholarly publishing, links out to our information about open education resources and all sorts of other things. So this is a great place to kind of explore what the library has to offer you. We probably will be updating this a little bit as it goes along, but I will also say there's some popular resources at the very top, including things like our course reserve form, instruction requests form, the beginning of the semester checklist is all here on this kind of front page as well. Okay. Any questions? I don't think I saw any in chat, but I'll hang around a little bit just in case there are some.
Thank you for watching this recorded webinar. Find upcoming webinars to register for at libcal.umflint.edu.